Well, I asked you guys on Twitter what movie I should do a Nerdzilla review of next, and overwhelmingly you guys voted to do something else. Okay, that's kind of hurtful. But therefore, I now present to you Bandit's Guide for Surviving the Coronavirus.
Corona, corona, the virus infecting us all. Corona, corona, you cough and shake then fall.
Oh, what's that you say? Well, the TV says that you shouldn't panic. It says that you shouldn't do anything rash. It says that you should remain calm. Well, they're wrong!
You're fucking wrong!
Totally wrong. Imagine there are two guys filling up their water bottles by a river when a crocodile launches out of the river and tries to eat them alive. One guy panics and dives out of the way, and the other one remains calm. Who do you think is going to survive? That's right. Neither of them. They're both dead because it's a crocodile. But you know who does survive? The guy who panicked in advance, who is standing way up on the bank, up on a hill, looking down at those two guys getting eaten, saying,
"See, I told you guys not to go near the water, but you guys said I was panicking. Yeah. Who's panicking now?"
Yeah, you absolutely should panic, but not when everybody else does. You have to panic before everyone else. I'm talking about preemptive panicking here, because the only difference between someone who panics and someone who prepares is the timing. Panicking is preparing too late, so panic early. And besides, don't listen to the media and the government when they tell you not to panic. That's a conspiracy so that they can keep all the panicking just to themselves. Don't you let them do it. Panicking is your God-given right. See, I panicked way in advance, long before anyone else did. Starting a few months ago, in fact, I decided to build up a small stockpile of food just in case food distribution was disturbed as a result of a natural disaster. Each time I go shopping, I grab another extra couple of cans, and I was met swiftly with an eye roll from my special lady friend. But now, when everybody else is panic buying, I've already got an emergency supply of food that can last a month. And I'll tell you what, I am swimming in I told you so's. There are so many I told you so's flying around my place. This is the biggest I told you so since someone at the Siege of Troy said, "I don't think we should bring that big wooden horse inside." And I'm continuing to panic in advance. When everyone was buying canned foods, I'd already moved on to the toiletries. Now that everyone's buying toiletries, I've already moved on to medicine. Panicking in advance. That's the secret, my friends. It's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most panicky.
It's growing fast, so wear a mask, buy plenty of extra food. But don't wait long, it's soon to be gone, and now you're screwed.
What's more scary than catching coronavirus, unwittingly infecting everybody you know, and suffering through 3 weeks of a fever that makes it feel like your skin is on fire, while your lungs are slowly filling with mucus from the inside out, with a cough that you just can't kick, slowly crushing your windpipe? What could be worse than that? Well, getting stuck on the loo without any toilet paper. Way, way worse.
With shelves stripped bare as Australians prepare for a pandemic. Take a look at this. We went out to take a look for ourselves yesterday and there wasn't a toilet roll in sight.
But with supermarket shelves still empty, customers are clearly fed up.
Just very typically Australian.
In what way?
Shameful.
Are they going to stockpile it under their house? I have no idea.
Waiting 3 days, no got it.
Some are resorting to paper napkins as an alternative.
Now, as I said earlier, I already panicked ahead of time, so I already had a stockpile of toilet paper. This is the toilet paper aisle of my local supermarket. But what surprised everyone was the ferocity with which people wanted to get their hands on this toilet paper. It suddenly became gold. It was insane, but on the plus side, it did open up a whole new genre of world star hip-hop video fights. Toilet paper fights.
Tensions flared at Woolworths Chullora around 7 o'clock this morning when 3 women became involved in a toilet paper tussle.
I just want 1 pack. No, not 1 pack.
Staff rushed to aisle 11 to intervene.
Yeah, it's unfair. You stop. Call the police. I'm calling the police.
It's not the Thunderdome. It's not Mad Max. We don't need to do that.
Well, with all due respect, officer, when it comes to fat, middle-aged women, it seems this is Thunderdome. One old bat apparently even pulled a knife in a fight for toilet paper.
At a Tamworth Big W, things got ugly. Police tasered a 50-year-old man who got mad over the lack of stock and allegedly choked another customer.
But don't worry, more toilet paper is on its way.
When toilet paper is needed most, a semi-trailer load erupts into flames on the gateway.
It looks like it was a mechanical fault.
Traffic was halted as fire crews rescued what rolls they could.
We've been able to save half the load.
Oh, have you? Have you? Oh, well, that's really good news. Yeah, nobody actually cares about the driver who almost burnt to death in that truck. But yeah, we're so glad that you're able to save half of the load of toilet paper. So insane. Who would have thought that, like, the Mad Max universe would come about through lack of toilet paper? You know, we always assumed Mad Max would be going for fuel as the best resource. No. It's toilet paper. That's what it's really about. But let me tell you something. As this tidal wave of panic buying just started to reach its peak, a whole nother tidal wave, just as powerful and far more annoying, rose up in order to meet it. A tidal wave of smug morons stating the obvious as if they are the only ones smart enough to figure out and announce to us what we all already knew.
Australia is not going to run out of toilet paper.
You do not need to buy more toilet paper.
Okay, Australia, time for some straight talk. Settle down about the toilet paper. Seriously, I've done this nicely, politely for the past few nights. But settle down. Coronavirus has nothing to do with why you would need toilet paper, let alone toilet paper by the trolley full or the bootload.
Oh, really? Really? Gee, thanks, Professor. Because I'm sure that all the people buying the toilet paper were surely buying it because they believed that if they built a castle of toilet rolls around them, it was somehow going to block coronavirus from getting at them. Yeah, that must have been the reason they were all buying it. It couldn't possibly be that they were buying it to wipe their behinds with. It couldn't possibly be that they wanted to have enough at home in case they get quarantined for 3 weeks. It couldn't possibly be that even though they think all the panic buying of toilet paper is stupid, they still recognize that the shelves are being cleared, so they better get in there and get their toilet paper while they still can. It couldn't possibly be any of that. They must have all immediately jumped to the conclusion that you have, that it is somehow going to protect them from coronavirus. Yeah, thanks for explaining that to us. Because I'm sure that the talking heads on TV who lecture everybody not to panic buy are certainly not going to turn around and panic buy themselves 5 minutes later.
But of all things to stock up on, toilet paper is the one that really has us stumped, isn't it? But the message hasn't stumped. But I think just calm down, everyone.
2 seconds later.
You almost have to go out and stock up now because if you don't, when you actually need it and you're down to like one or two rolls, it's not going to be available.
So you're saying to the nation this morning, Ali, stay calm, don't go and do it.
But race out there and get it so that you're not
and what did you do yesterday?
I did a shop online.
Corona, corona, infecting everyone. Corona, corona, the worst is yet to come.
I'm sure by now we all know the need to not shake people's hands to avoid getting the germs, as germs and viruses stick to the layer of oil that coats our skin, which is why we need to wash our hands with soap in order to remove that layer of oil and all the germs that stick to it off our hands and rinse them down the drain. However, since we unconsciously touch our mouth and our face roughly about 23 times an hour, which is how the virus travels from our hands into our mouth and then into our body, hence the use of wearing masks, not so much to filter the air because you need like a proper respirator thing for that, but rather to just stop you from unconsciously touching your face, transmitting any germs from your hands that you've picked up throughout the day. So I'm sure we all know that by now. We've all heard you gotta wash your hands. But there's still the problem of hand shaking. Do we still do that? What if we shake someone's hand, pick up the germs they had on their hand, and then accidentally rub our eye before we have a chance to wash our hands? Is there perhaps a suitable alternative to shaking hands? Not the elbow bump, as people sneeze into their elbow all the time. I suppose bowing could work, but I don't like the idea of moving my face closer to someone else's face during a pandemic. I'd rather lean away in the other direction. And based off how the infection is spreading throughout Asia, where bowing is pretty common, maybe, that's not really a good option. The foot tap has been suggested, but that's just kind of weird. It seems that we just can't do physical contact greetings anymore.
Sir, I formally convey my presence.
How you doing? We are not used to physical contact greetings.
germs.
Look, I don't know if you guys...
So since we are basically in that Demolition Man future now, the verbal morality stature is YouTube's kid-friendly terms of service, the hyper-political correctness sucking all of the joy out of life is basically any movie made in the last 3 years, and the 3 seashells are clearly the 3 branches of democratic government, every bit as mysterious about how they work, and no doubt just as disgusting to see what happens behind those closed doors. But Demolition Man provides us with an alternative to the handshake.
This vehicle has been code fixed, approaching the corner of Wilshire.
Oh yes, Demolition Man is weirdly prophetic about the times that we are living in. That movie is just the gift that keeps on giving, handing out great ideas like China hands out communicable diseases. So to summarize, panic, worship the god of toilet paper, and obey the Demolition Man rules for handshaking. Do that and I ensure that you will be well.
Be well.
Be fucked.
Johnsman, you are fined 1.
Everyone's got corona, you're gonna get it too. Come on and get corona.